May the agenda run well. Now we are going to the second agenda. It's reciting of the Holy Quran. It will be recited by Kiai Haji Ahmad Husni Ismail, MAG. The golden time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A'udzu billahi minasy syaithanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. وإذ ابتلى إبراهيم ربه بكلمات وإذ ابتلى إبراهيم ربه بكلمات فأتمهن قال إني جاعلك للناس إماما قال ومن ذريتي قال لا ينال عهد الظالمين وإذ جعلنا البيت مثابة للناس وأمنا واتخذوا من مقام إبراهيم مصلى وعهدنا إلى إبراهيم وإسماعيل وعهدنا إلى إبراهيم وإسماعيل أن طهر بيتي للطائفين والعاكفين طهر بيتي للطائفين والعاكفين والركع السجود. أن طهر بيتي للطائفين والعاكفين والركع السجود. صدق الله العظيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thanks so much to Kiai Haji Ahmad Husni Ismail MAG for reciting Al-Quran. Okay, move on to the next agenda. What is that?
Okay, the next agenda, we are going to the core agenda. That is our agenda, the main our agenda this afternoon. It is religious diplomacy for improving rules of imams in global life. It will be two speakers today. The first speaker will be deliver our Grand Imam Istiqlal Mosque, Professor Dr. Kiai Haji Nasaruddin Umar MA, and then the second speaker will be deliver Imam Muhammad Basar Arafat PhD, founder and president Civilization Exchange and Cooperation Foundation. We invite to our two speakers to have a seat here.
Okay.
Assalamu warahmatullah.
Okay, first of all, maybe I would like to say thanks for coming and thanks for attending our madrasah and Istiqlal Mosque. And then I will start by the first question. How are you today, sir? How are you today?
I'm more than happy.
Okay, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. More than happy to see these shiny faces and to be the guest of my dear respected brother Imam Professor Nasruddin Omar. How you think I feel? More than happy, inshallah.
Okay, alhamdulillah. Okay, and then gimana kabarnya Imam Besar Masjid Istiqlal Jakarta pada siang hari ini?
I am fine, alhamdulillah, baik-baik saja. Apalagi dengan kehadiran Imam Besar, ya. Jadi imam besar. Saya namanya saja imam besar, tapi ilmunya dan pengalamannya kecil. Kalau beliau imam besar benar, besar badannya, besar ilmunya, besar segalanya, besar negerinya, besar uangnya. Jadi iya. Oke.
Baik, tema kita hari ini Bapak Ibu semuanya, religious diplomacy for improving rules of imam in global life. Okay, for the first speaker, maybe it will be delivered firstly from our Grand Imam Istiqlal Mosque. So the golden time is yours.
Baik, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everybody. Alhamdulillah wa syukurillah wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah Sayyidina Habibina wa Syafi'ina Maulana Muhammadin sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Amma abad. Alhamdulillah, kita sangat bersyukur kehadirat Allah dengan kehadiran special guest kita sebagai speaker yang paling kita tunggu-tunggu, ya, karena beliau ini adalah one of the best ulama di Amerika Serikat. Dia berkedudukan di Washington, nanti diperkenalkan oleh MC ya, bahwa beliau ini juga sangat banyak membantu kita bagaimana Indonesia itu bisa berperan internasional sebagai the largest Muslim people in the world. Maka kita tentunya bukan hanya bangga dengan kuantitasnya, tapi kita juga harus bangga dengan kualitasnya. Kadang-kadang sesuatu itu mayoritas secara kuantitatif, tapi minoritas secara kualitatif. Indonesia, bisa kita katakan Indonesia ini mayoritas secara kuantitatif, almost 90%. Tapi dari segi kemampuan uang, kekayaan, kita minoritas secara kuantitatif. Jumlah rupiah dolarnya sangat sedikit. Ada yang minoritas tapi pemegang dolar, pemegang rupiahnya sangat besar. Jadi ini tidak berbanding lurus antara kuantitas dan kualitas. Jadi kita berharap peran imam mampu melakukan perubahan sosial di dalam masyarakat kita. Bagaimana menggunakan bahasa imam ini sebagai religious diplomacy for improving rules of imams in global life. Global life itu ya dalam kehidupan sosial makro kita ini. Apa yang dimaksud dengan religious diplomacy? Sebetulnya kalau kita bicara tentang religious diplomacy ini, kita bicara tentang sejarah hidupnya Nabi Muhammad SAW. Nabi itu berhasil itu bukan karena perang, nggak punya tentara yang hebat, nggak punya senjata yang canggih, tapi dia itu memperoleh the best in the world. Di dalam bukunya Thomas Carlyle, 13 tokoh yang pernah lahir di muka bumi ini, Nabi Muhammad yang pertama, dan Michael Hart, 100 tokoh yang paling pertama adalah Nabi Muhammad juga. Itu bukan karena senjatanya yang canggih, bukan karena tentaranya yang banyak dan kuat, tapi kemampuan menggunakan diplomasi. Nah, diplomasi seorang Nabi dan Rasul itu tentu religious diplomasi. Karena itu al-ulama'u warathatul anbiya, jadi imam ini adalah ahli waris spiritualnya Nabi. Nah, kalau Nabi berhasil merubah situasi dalam tempo hanya 10 tahun, mampu membuat ajarannya dianut oleh separuh belahan dunia, itu very fantastic itu. Maka kita pun juga sebagai ahli waris spiritual Nabi, yaitu para imam yang tampil di dalam forum ini, mestinya juga harus mampu melakukan hal yang sama. Tidak ada orang yang mampu menyaksikan ajaran yang dianut separuh belahan dunia selain Nabi Muhammad. Ya, Nabi Isa alaihi salam yang dikenal kita Yesus Kristus, 800 tahun setelah wafat baru ajaran yang dikenal di dunia meluas. Jadi bayangkan Nabi Isa memerlukan waktu 800 tahun untuk bisa go public. Tadinya hanya menjadi agama lokal. Tapi Islam itu sudah menjadi agama universal ketika penganutnya masih hidup. So this is very fantastic. Ya. Kemudian apa contoh religious diplomasi Rasulullah SAW? Contohnya dalam hadis Bukhari Muslim. Ya, itu ada kasus di dalam jilid 1 kitab Sahihul Bukhari itu ya. Di kitab saya itu jilid 1 halaman terakhir itu ada hadisnya panjang. Mengisahkan tentang Suhail. Suhail ini representasi daripada kaum Quraisy Mekah. Sedangkan Nabi Muhammad sendiri yang memimpin komunitas muslim di Madinah. Hatta uktub, mari ke sini kita melakukan perjanjian damai, gencatan senjata di perang di Hudaybiyah ini. Apa yang terjadi di situ? Ya, hatta uktub. Jadi pendahuluan prolognya perjanjian itu, uktub bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Tapi belum sampai juru tulisnya Nabi Muhammad menulis kata-kata itu, diprotes oleh Suhail. La taktub hakata walakin ana madrimahu. Jangan tulis bismillahirrahmanirrahim karena saya tidak tahu apa itu bismillahirrahmanirrahim, walakin uktub bismikallahumma. Jadi coret Allahur Rahman Rahim diganti dengan Allahumma. Itu kata Allahumma pada waktu itu populer juga. Nah, konten perjanjian Hudaybiyah itu, kalau orang kafir Mekah ditangkap, segera pulangkan, lepas. Tapi kalau orang Islam ditangkap di Mekah, ya tahan, jangan dikembalikan. Disetujui Nabi. Ini tidak adil kan? Berkerut keningnya sahabat. Ini tidak adil. Dicoret kalimat prinsip Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Masa kalau orang Islam ditangkap, dipenjara. Tapi kalau orang kafir Quraisy ditangkap, dikembalikan. Nah, yang paling merah mukanya, sahabat marah. Tapi mau marah kepada siapa? Nabi kan? Penutup perjanjian itu, hadza ma qada alaihi Muhammad Rasulullah. Ya. Sebagaimana apa yang telah diputuskan oleh Muhammad Rasulullah. Suhail protes, la taktub hakata, walakin uktub hadza ma qada alaihi Muhammad bin Abdullah. Coba bayangkan, Rasulullah dicoret. Ya. Berarti kan pengingkaran terhadap Nabi sebagai Rasul. Itu kalau kita pakai bahasa tekstualnya kan. Ini mengingatkan kita dengan ketuhanan yang Maha Esa, dicoret, lalu ketuhanan dengan berkewajiban menjalankan syariat Islam bagi pemeluknya digantikan dengan ketuhanan yang Maha Esa. Ya, bagi orang-orang tekstualis, wah ini kok founding fathers kita ini mau-maunya mencoret kata-kata syariat di situ kan, lalu diganti dengan ketuhanan yang Maha Esa. Nah, itu nggak ada apa-apanya dibandingkan dengan apa yang dilakukan Nabi kan. Muhammad Rasulullah dicoret, kemudian tidak ada yang mau mencoret. Abu Bakar, Umar, Utsman, Ali tidak mau mencoret. Tidak ada yang mau mencoret, akhirnya Rasulullah mencoret sendiri kan. Itu dalam Ibnu Hajar Al-Asqalani kan, di situ ada dalam syarah syarahnya itu kan ada. Yang mencoret itu Nabi. Jadi itu nggak benar Nabi Muhammad SAW itu dianggap buta huruf. Kalau buta huruf tentu salah coret atau bagaimana mencoret, menggantikan dengan Muhammad bin Abdullah Muhammad bin Abdullah, kemudian di belakangnya itu ada beberapa hal, dan yang paling menjengkelkan para sahabat terhadap komunitas ini ada kasus dalam perjanjian itu. Ada salah seorang tentara Islam ditangkap oleh pihak kafir Quraisy. Nah, karena di sini kan banyak komunitas Islam, banyak juga komunitas kafir Quraisy. Tawanan perang itu lari menyeberang ke komunitasnya Nabi. Lepas itu. Tahanan muslim yang ditahan oleh kaum kafir itu lari menyeberang ke barisannya umat Islam. Nah, Suhail protes, kembalikan tuh tawanan perang kami itu. Nah, tentara Islam tadi itu, masa kalian mau melepaskan aku ke negeri musuh? Aku kan sudah masuk di dalam kemenangan Anda. Iya, tidak boleh dilepaskan. Ini kan sudah masuk menggabung dengan kita nih. Tapi Nabi tidak. Hei, ya fulan, kembali ke sana. Tidak ada sahabat yang menahan tentara Islam itu, dikembalikan demi untuk menghargai perjanjian. Jadi Nabi bukan hanya tanda tangan tapi tidak menghargainya. Dia membuktikan bahwa apa yang ditandatanganinya itu, ya kan, orang Islam ditahan, ya tetap ditahan, kembalikan tahanan itu. Nah, ini satu contoh diplomasi. Apa yang terjadi berikutnya? Ya, Nabi memberi penjelasan. Yang penting buat kita adalah menyelamatkan nyawa. Soal permainan redaksi itu belakangan. Ya. Dan tidak lama setelah itu terjadi gencatan senjata dan terjadilah konsolidasi yang luar biasa di Madinah. Maka dalam tempo singkat Fathu Makkah terjadi kan, sesudah Hudaybiyah itu kan. Seandainya ngotot-ngototan pada waktu itu, barangkali belum tentu bisa Fathu Makkah itu. Negara yang revolusi tanpa setetes darah itu Fathu Makkah. Ini satu contoh religious diplomacy. One of the example of the religious diplomacy is the case of Suhail, according to Bukhari Muslim. Nah, so inilah teman-teman, banyak contoh yang lain, tapi nanti kita akan dengarkan Imam Bashar akan memberikan penjelasan. Nah, sedikit saya ingin apa yang dimaksud religious diplomacy untuk imam. Apa itu imam sebetulnya? Jadi imam itu bukan bahasa Arab. Dalam ilmu semantik, imam itu bahasa Hebrew dari amem. Amem itu artinya the sign lover, cinta kasih. Untuk apa? Diseberangkan ke dalam bahasa Arab untuk memberikan merek kepada ibu. Karena ibu itu kan pemilik cinta kasih. Tidak ada cinta yang setulus dengan ibu, maka itu dipinjamkan, nggak ada bahasa Arabnya karena orang Arab itu mungkin bukan pencinta sejati ya. Terpaksa bahasa cinta sejati itu dipinjam dari Hebrew atau dipinjam dari Ibrani. Amim. Dari kata alif mim itu lahir amamah, keterdepanan, visioner. Dari akar kata alif mim itu lahir amamah, keterdepanan. Ada imam pemimpin yang berwibawa, ada makmum rakyat yang santun, follower yang santun. Ada konsep yang mengatur antara imam dengan makmum, itu disebut imamah. Komunitas yang diikat oleh cinta kasih, ada visi ke depannya, ada imam yang berwibawa, ada makmum yang santun, maka komunitasnya itulah yang disebut dengan ummah. Jadi kuntum khaira ummah itu adalah produk imam. Tanpa keterlibatan imam, nggak mungkin khaira ummah. Nah, inilah maksud daripada bahasa ini tadi. Nah, jadi ummah itu adalah the final community in Al-Quran. Di dalam Quran itu ada ummah, ada qaumun, ada hisbun, ada sya'bun, ada qabilah, ada syiah. Yeah. The final community, Islamic community itu adalah ummah. Kuntum khaira ummah. Bukan kuntum khaira qaumun, kuntum khaira sya'bun. Kuntum khaira ummah. Ummah itu adalah bahasa yang kosmopolit yang diperkenalkan oleh Nabi. Tidak pernah dipakai istilah itu sebelum Nabi Muhammad SAW. Nah, peranan kita sebagai imam sekarang ini bagaimana mewujudkan imam yang tangguh, dan bagaimana imam itu nanti menciptakan suatu society yang sangat stabil, ya sangat damai, ya sangat berwibawa dan sangat produktif. Itu yang kita harapkan. Nah, peranan imam, para sahabat-sahabat imam dimanapun juga berada di seluruh Indonesia yang ikut pada acara ini, mari kita menjadikan posisi imam ini sebagai suatu strategi untuk menciptakan pemimpin umat. Ya, ayat yang dibacakan tadi Pak Husni itu bagus itu. Surah apa tadi? Apa ayatnya tadi itu? Ini ja'ilu kalinnasi imama, ya kan? Wajana lil muttaqina imama, itu juga disampaikan oleh Pak Bahsar di atas ya. Jadi imam itu bukan hanya untuk orang Islam, tapi untuk linnas itu tidak ada agama apapun itu, li Bani Adam itu. Nah, jadi imam ini, para rekan-rekan yang imam dimanapun juga, jadilah imam bukan hanya untuk umat Islam saja, tapi linnas itu ya, imam untuk manusia itu. Itu peranan imam. Demikian, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih kepada Bapak Imam Besar yang telah menyampaikan ya speech pertama. Okay, thanks so much for the speech, and move on to the next section is the second speaker will be delivered by Imam Muhammad Basar Arafat, PhD.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن اهتدى بهديه إلى يوم الدين. يا ربنا لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك ولعظيم سلطانك لا نحصي ثناء عليك أنت كما أثنيت على نفسك. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. First of all, I'm thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be here with my brothers and sisters in person and online through Zoom, as I was told. And I really would like your full attention, because this is a new topic. I don't know if you have addressed that issue in Istiqlal before. I don't know if you have addressed that issue within Imams in Indonesia, but this is a very important topic because it is not addressed so much in the Middle East. It is not addressed so much in the Middle East because they mix between political diplomacy and religious diplomacy. So there is no training on that. Your brother is a graduate of Sharia University in Damascus, Syria. Nobody taught us about that. I had to learn this because of my presence in Washington, D.C. Maybe if you are an imam in Chicago, maybe if you are imam in Texas, maybe if you are imam in Arkansas, even you will not pay attention to that, because I always say the imams in the Washington area are different than the imams in the rest of America. And the imams in America are different than the imams of the rest of the world, because they are living in America. But again, one of the things I would like to start by saying, unfortunately, we don't have an Ibn Battuta of the 21st century. We still rely on Ibn Battuta of the 14th century, and we don't have a new Ibn Battuta who would travel from country to country to country and tell us what is the significance of Muslims in Belgium versus Muslims in France. What is the significance of the Muslims who are living in Holland, the Netherlands, versus the Muslims who are living in France? I'm saying that because I just came back from France, Belgium, and Holland, trying to lay a program about Al-Amir Abdul Qadir Al-Jazairi. I faced a lot of difficulties in France to talk about these issues, and I had no problem about that in Belgium, in the Netherlands. But some people who never traveled to Europe, they don't know the difference between France and laïcité, al-ilmaniyya, and the problems of mentioning anything about religion, versus Holland, which is almost like America. So, again, I would like you, please just look at me rather than your phones, and especially those who are in the back, because I have noticed that people like to look at their phones when I'm speaking. So this is maybe a culture here. I would like the sisters in the back to focus so they can ask me questions, number one. Number two, am I okay speaking in English?
Yes, it's okay, sir. Oke, mohon maaf Bapak dan Ibu berkenan untuk menghentikan aktivitas dengan mobile phone-nya, dengan HP-nya, agar bisa lebih fokus dalam memperhatikan penyampaian dari Imam Besar. Terima kasih.
Because, again, this is topic that you need so much because you live in Indonesia. By the way, if you live in Malaysia, Malaysia is different than Indonesia. I was doing a lot of programs in Malaysia, and then I packed everything and I said no more, I'm coming to Indonesia for different reasons. Maybe you are aware of it. You have to be aware of who you are and the condition in Indonesia, that the whole world came to your valley just 2 days ago, but you need to understand how to benefit from the world, because the world is benefiting from Indonesia. So I would like to start by saying, what do I mean by religious diplomacy? I'm writing a curriculum for the Sharia schools in religious diplomacy because we need that so much. And I have gone back and I have seen how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told the Sahaba to be always open-minded. Always open-minded. In our Sharia schools, we teach the people to follow, but we don't teach the people to lead globally. We do not teach the people to lead globally because the one who is teaching needs to be aware of this topic. He needs to be well-traveled and understanding the global situation. So now, I would like just to start by saying this hadith. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam arsala Mu'adh ibn Jabal ila al-Yaman. فقال له يا معاذ بما تحكم؟ قال بكتاب الله. قال فإن لم تجد؟ قال فبسنة رسول الله. قال فإن لم تجد؟ قال أجتهد رأيي ولا آل. You know الحديث. فضرب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم على صدر معاذ وقال الحمد لله الذي وفق رسول الله لما يرضي الله ورسوله. Have you heard this hadith? You heard it before. Now, fast forward 1400 years, I was Imam in Syria, and my Sheikh always will tell us, Ya Ibni, you have to pay attention to America. So you have to learn English. So in 85, I was the first within the Sharia university to take off at the third year, and I went to London, and I lived with a host family. I registered in a school, and I studied English, and then I came back to Syria. And then I was accompanying my Sheikh always whenever he would receive international delegations. My role was to sit with these delegations and understand what they would like to ask the Grand Mufti. In 1989, he sent me to America. But before I leave, he told me, Bashar, not Bassar, Bashar. By the way, when I came here, I was mixing between Bashar and Bassar, exactly. Thank you for making the clarification. He said, Bashar, before you leave, I want you to know one thing. Do not follow me with everything, because what I did was suitable for Syria. But if I was in America, maybe I would have had done completely different things than what I have done in Syria. So do not follow me with everything. Follow what is suitable for America. This sentence helped me a lot when I went to America. Because I have seen in America things I have never seen in Syria. One of these is living as a minority. You guys here, you are living as a majority. But living as a minority in America is another experience, number one. Number two, people would look at me always with suspicion at the beginning as terrorist. And especially, I have a last name that is not helpful. When I went in the 90s, people always associate me with Yasser Arafat. They will say, what's the relation between you and Yasser Arafat? Are you Palestinian? And then 9/11 happened, and Osama bin Laden, and everybody will hear Islam, they will think you are a terrorist. Are you related to Osama bin Laden? That's the question. I have to prove myself wherever I go. So that's a challenge. You don't feel that challenge here in Indonesia. But if you are there, you are always asked that question, and you enter a room in a church where they have never heard about Islam and they have never met an imam. You have always to make the people comfortable. So that is where I would like to mention that you have to come up with different things. You have to read the Quran again and see how really the Quran is full of outreach. We mean by religious diplomacy also fannu da'wah. But in America, everything is diplomacy. In Washington, everything. America love to do diplomacy. They have amazing, they call it shuttle diplomacy. They have people-to-people diplomacy. They have cultural diplomacy. They have sport diplomacy. They use sport to advance America's interest. They use movie stars and Hollywood people to travel to speak. They use singers. The State Department send some of those rappers in order to hold concerts somewhere sponsored by the US Embassy. Muhammad Bashar Arafat came to Indonesia in 2005 through the US Embassy, and in 2006 and in 2009, 2011, until 2018. So what I wanted you to know, that I started asking myself later on, why America is inviting me everywhere, because we did that with 47 embassies around the world. Where are the Imams from Egypt? Where are the Imams from Syria? Where are the Imams from Jordan? Where are the Imams from Morocco? Where are the Imams from Indonesia that are sent by the Indonesian government to talk about Indonesia in different universities in America? And then I started asking, where are the Imams from the Middle East to come through their embassies in Washington, like the US Embassy, the cultural mission? So I realized that we don't use our embassies and the cultural missions to come and hold events in America. For example, Barack Obama, first thing he did after he became a president of the United States in 2009, do you know what he did? He came to Cairo, Egypt, and he gave a talk. Until now, people refer to it in Washington as Cairo speech. Do you remember Cairo speech by Barack Hussein Obama? He was the first president of the United States to start his speech in Egypt, Assalamu alaikum. It was the first president. And then, the first 5 minutes of his speech, do you know what he was talking about? The Islamic civilization in Spain and how Spain passed all of this Islamic civilization to Europe. After Obama did his speech in Cairo to the whole Muslim world, I, Muhammad Bashar Arafat, was asking myself in America, when are the Muslim kings and presidents are going to come to America and speak to the American people from Columbia University, from Johns Hopkins University, from Georgetown University, the same way Obama went. Nobody came, by the way, and spoke to the American people. Because America is different culture. In America, they have something called civil society. In America, they have civil society. They can do projects more than the government. In the Arab world, the governments do everything. Like you have here, Ministry of Religious Affairs, MORA. In America, we don't have MORA. But you, Muhammad Bashar Arafat, you, brothers, you, Dr. Rosita, you, Dr. Ahmad, you have to be MORA over there by yourself. And you can do whatever. And you can also start getting funding, donations from foundations. They can fund you in order to do these projects. I learned that this was religious diplomacy, but nobody taught me this in the Sharia. I studied fiqh, I studied usul al-fiqh, I studied hadith, I studied all of that, but nobody taught me also about the etiquette and the rules of making da'wah in America after the Civil War. Civil War. Do you know that in America there was a big civil war between 1860 and 1865? Fast forward more than 100 years, then you have now Trump came and he was also talking about the same issues happened during the Civil War. What I wanted to say is religious diplomacy and how religious diplomacy is important for us today. You have to read about religious diplomacy in the Quran. Do you know where I find it in the Quran? Clearly, in Surah Al-Rum. In Surah Al-Rum. And the significance of Surah Al-Rum, as I mentioned in my talk at the graduation. I'm just going to say something quick because I don't want to hold you, but I want you to go and research the ayat in Surah Al-Rum. The Rum today is Europe, okay? Most of the Syrian refugees after the war in Syria, especially in 2014 and 2015 and 2016, do you remember these waves and waves of immigrants from Syria traveling to Europe? Do you remember in your images how they were coming, walking to Germany, to Austria? All of them want to go to Western Europe. Nobody wants to go to Eastern Europe, by the way. Because the culture there is different. Germany is different than Holland. Germany is different than France. So again, we don't study that in our Sharia. So Surah Al-Rum is how to build bridges between cultures and between countries. And then I have learned from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam how after Sulh al-Hudaybiyah, the one you spoke about, right away he turned globally and he started sending his letters to Al-Furs wal-Rum wa-Al-Aqbat fi Masr. And you know these letters. من محمد بن عبد الله إلى كسرى عظيم الفرس من محمد بن عبد الله إلى هرقل عظيم الروم من محمد بن عبد الله إلى المقوقس عظيم القبط. Go and study those letters. First, Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم كان أميا. He was unlettered, didn't know how to read or to write. But he had kuttab, some people who would write it. The question is, I always ask myself, why Rasulullah ﷺ did not tell those Sahaba who are memorizing the Quran, go on my behalf and tell Al-Muqawqis my letter and listen and memorize what I'm going to tell you. No, he didn't do it. He wrote it in a letter. We don't have so many letters from Rasulullah ﷺ, by the way. There was very few. When he wanted to communicate, he wrote letters. Today, I do training for the Imams how to write their emails. How to write their emails to ask the universities for a project, and how to write letters. Letters. This is the Sunnah. Today in America, and it happened with me a lot, if I wrote a very nice letter, the people would respond very professionally back to me because I sent them a letter. I didn't send them an email. You have to teach the Imams when to write an email and when to write a letter, and how to write the letter. I myself, by the way, when I went to America, I was making sujood, always making dua. Ya Allah, help me to learn the religious English. Because there is a difference between, English in the streets and English in the seminaries. Religious English, how to give khutbahs. So I was always listening to the Christian preachers, how they are talking and making khutbah. Because, as you know, you have to speak in different churches and different universities, and you are talking to the Americans who are educated and they need to hear from you good English. That was in my dua always. And I would listen for like 5 to 10 years, wallahi, all the time in my car to the Sunday masses and how the Christians talk, the preachers. So these letters are important, and today they are part of our curriculum because you need to communicate. Not only because, again, if you live in America, you have no choice but to start your own NGO and to start your own civil society organization, because that's how the culture over there. But in the Middle East, if you want to start your own NGO, you will be under a big problem from the government and the Secret Service and al-mukhabarat. Alhamdulillah, in Indonesia you don't have that problem. But people, I'm not going to name the countries, but in the Middle East, and if you want to do anything, right away the Secret Service come to you on mukhabarat. What are you doing? Whom you are writing this letter to? And who gave you permission to write it? You see? But in America, you are free to do whatever you want. Once something happened, and I called the White House during Obama time. Am I still okay? The point is, how today Imams in America can collaborate with Imams in Indonesia, because the culture is different. How Imams in Australia can also collaborate with Imams in Indonesia, because the culture is different. What I'm trying to tell you, the whole world is looking to Indonesia. Everybody is, I live in America. When Indonesia is mentioned, you will hear respect, you will hear appreciation, and by the way, a lot of people, they like to come to your valley. Tayyib, what are your projects to invite or you to communicate with universities in America, with seminaries in America, and tell them, we have this university and we have this program and we would like to invite somebody to speak to us over Zoom. Today everybody is doing it for free. You don't have to pay anything. So this is where I just wanted to mention to you that my message to you is how to use this diplomacy, outreach, because you are mandated by the Quran to do a project called لِتَعَارَفُوا. Right? Allah is saying in the Quran, يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لِتَعَارَفُوا. That means you have to create لِتَعَارَفُوا in your little community, in Jakarta, in Indonesia, in ASEAN, and around the world. It depends. It's up to you how far you want to go. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was teaching us, and especially you Imams, in order to be rahmatan lil alameen. Because I see today there are a lot of problems in America and in Europe because of the war in Russia and Ukraine. And I really feel that Indonesia should be the one always challenging Christian leaders and Jewish leaders by creating some conferences to say, this is what our religion is calling for. What are you doing? And how we can collaborate for global peace and understanding. That's number one. Number two, for Indonesia to hold these youth conferences and reach out to the non-Muslim youth. Non-Muslim youth. Stop reaching out only to Muslims. You have also to reach out to the non-Muslim youth. We have a conference in America because I have seen that students from all over the world are coming to America to study and live with host families for 1 year. So I wrote a proposal, like the letters Rasulullah ﷺ wrote. Wallahi, I wrote 5 pages proposal, and I sent it to the State Department, and I said, I think we can do a conference in Orlando, Florida, and invite all of these youth to learn about cultural diversity and religious diversity and leadership. Alhamdulillah, the conference started and it was approved in 2005, and it is going until now. The role of the international youth through cultural exchange programs, that will be done through diplomacy today. Because if you want to talk about da'wah, the non-Muslims will say, excuse me, we don't want to hear about Islam. But when you tell them, we would like to build a better society for peace, for development, for morality, everybody would listen. And that's why I'm here just to tell you that through religious diplomacy, you can establish partnership. And this partnership, which today you refer to it as MOU, this partnership can lead for funding and collaboration on different projects if they saw that you have a good program. In America, and I'm going to stop here because I would like to hear from you. In America, people always, they have something merging. They merge. Different companies, they merge together in order to make a bigger company and more profit. I'm here in order to partner with Indonesia, in order to invite you to speak. You might not be able to come in person, but you can come today over Zoom. My role and my job is to arrange a platform. Here you call it a mimbar or minassa, a podium, and to invite you and to tell the sister there I would like you to write a speech for 10 minutes, from 10 to 15 minutes, and I'm going to arrange for you to deliver this speech in some churches in the Washington area, or in a school, or in a university, and then to have discussions. This is what we call English language for religious purposes, those kind of training. But again, for me, what helped was reaching out to you through the cultural missions of the U.S. Embassy in Jakarta. I want you also to reach out to us through the Indonesian Embassy in Washington. That's why I'm here to tell you that your embassy has to do programs in different universities around the U.S., in different churches, and I'm here to partner with you for that. And we were speaking, me and the Imam, about this before. I would like to stop here in order to hear from you. So, again, with the name of Allahu Akbar, we have to raise the Islamic values to become like Allahu Akbar. Because the Islamic values are exactly the same as the values Jesus alayhi salam, Isa alayhi salam spoke about, Musa alayhi salam spoke about. So again, I'm here to let you know that there are so many avenues to use. We call it in America the art of diplomacy. And Woodrow Wilson defined diplomacy as the art of creating relations between nations. The Quran never used the word diplomacy, but the Quran used the word لِتَعَارَفُوا, and the Quran used the word ادعو إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة وجادلهم ليس بالحسنى بالتي هي أحسن. القرآن قال لنا لا ينهاكم الله عن الذين لم يقاتلوكم في الدين ولم يخرجوكم من دياركم And what? And تبروهم. Not to treat them بالحسنى. البر higher. يقول بر الوالدين. أن تبروهم. Not only that, وتقسطوا في المعاملة وتقسطوا إليهم إن الله يحب المقسطين. In America, when I use this verse, I tell them, do you know how many times the Quran is telling us to do bir with those who لم يقاتلون في الدين ولم يخرجون من ديارنا? Do you know how many times we have to do bir? They look at me and they say no. I say 24 hours. Yani any time you see somebody need help, you have to be the best to help. And then I tell them, we are living in a time today, a lot of Muslims are migrating to America. A lot of Muslims are migrating to Europe. Have you heard of somebody who would say, I wish I can go to America, but they don't give me a visa? You hear that sometimes? I wish I can get a visa to England. I wish I can get a visa. We are living in a time today, Ash-Shafi'i didn't speak about visa. Hanafi didn't speak about visa. Maliki didn't speak about visa. We don't have in our Kitabul Babun fil visa. Babun fil jinsiyya. We don't have that. This is something happening in our time. That's why in our fiqh, we have something called أسلوب الفنقلة. يعني إن حدث كذا فيكون الجواب كذا. And once one of the Imams was asked a question, and then he said about mas'ala, one of the issues, and then he said, هل حدثت? Did this happen? What you are asking about, hypothetical question. Did this happen? هل حدثت? قال لا. قال إذن دعها لعالم زمانها. He said, leave it to the scholar of that time. He would be better to answer this than me. Why? Because, for example, today if I told you we will meet over Zoom, Imam Shafi'i never heard about Zoom. Imam Shafi'i never heard about Twitter and WhatsApp and Instagram. This is something is happening for us today. That means for you as an Imam, you have to be artistic. And by the way, wallahi, I have seen people in Indonesia, the youth are so smart in using these flyers and digital media. And I was sharing with His Eminence, the Imam, I said, you should use this as business also in America, because we do outsourcing. In America to do just like this, you need to pay $100. If you can contract somebody here and pay them maybe $70, you have to also market yourself, market what you can do in America. This is through religious diplomacy. So that's why not only about religion, but also about business. Business. Rasulullah ﷺ was a role model in doing business. Once he saw one of the Sahaba sitting in the masjid, young, mashallah, and doing nothing. The first day, the second day, a week, 2 weeks, and then he called him. He said, what do you do? He said, Ya Rasulullah, nothing. He said, what do you mean, nothing? He said, go and do something. He said, Ya Rasulullah, I'm poor. He said, what do you have at home? You know about this story about idhab. So he said, I have nothing except a pot. He said, go and get it. Rasulullah ﷺ, he auctioned that by himself in al-masjid. And then he sold it for 2 dinars. He gave him 2 dinars and he said, 1 dinar for you and 1 dinar to buy an axe. Idhab. And then he brought him the axe, and Rasulullah ﷺ, by himself, he made a stick and he put it in the axe and he gave it to him and he said, idhab wahtatib. And do not come back to me until you are doing well. The hadith is a little bit long. My point is, that's why this issue is very important for our dunya and akhirah. And I will stop here to hear Q&A from you, if you don't mind. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks to Imam Muhammad Basar Arafat PhD for delivering the speech. And talk about religious diplomacy. Actually, we have been talking about the history of our Prophet Muhammad SAW, the way our Prophet create and communicate with with Sahaba, and through learning religious diplomacy, we can learn how to make partnership, how to make a relation with nation.
Yes, and this relation with America. I'm coming from America because the Americans love Indonesia. So it's both ways, from Indonesia to America, and also from America to Indonesia.
Oke, Bapak Ibu, jadi yang kurang lebih disampaikan tadi oleh pemateri kita yang kedua, mencoba untuk memadukan ya, perpaduan antara diplomasi, politik dan agama. Jadi kita ini kan dalam konteks judul ini, kita ini kan semua pemimpin kita diciptakan di dunia adalah sebagai pemimpin. Bagaimana kita peran kita sebagai pemimpin pada global kehidupan dunia internasional. Karena yang tadi beliau sampaikan bahwa untuk hal begini tentang religious diplomasi, perpaduan antara agama dan diplomasi itu, kita itu masih minim informasi ya, masih belum ada yang mengajarkan tentang hal ini. Karena di setiap negara itu kan beda. Tadi disampaikan bahwa di Amerika, kemudian di negara-negara lain. Beliau ini kan dari Syria, kemudian 18 tahun sekolah di Amerika. Kemudian poinnya adalah kalau kita tadi sampaikan, kalau kita mengandalkan yang ada di diplomasi, yang ada di embassy atau di kedutaan ya, embassy di kedutaan, mereka itu nggak punya kekuatan untuk atau power yang disampaikan untuk menjelaskan tentang ini. Karena kalau sekarang kan kita kalau datang ke negara lain, kalau hanya ingin ngomongin dakwah, mereka nggak mau pada dengar gitu maksudnya. Jadi yang tadi ayat ini disampaikan li ta'arafu, kita diciptakan di dunia ini ada laki-laki, ada perempuan, kemudian dan berbangsa-bangsa untuk satu sama lain saling mengenal. Kalau kita datang sebagai pemimpin perwakilan muslim, contoh kita datang terus kita ngomongin dakwah, mereka nggak mau dengar. Tapi lebih bagaimana kita creation dari li ta'arafu itu, dari jadi maksudnya bagaimana keindahan kita atau kepintaran kita dalam manage li ta'arafu itu dalam hal lain, bisa dalam mengadakan sebuah kegiatan. Tadi disampaikan ada kayak conference youth gitu, model-model kayak kemarin ya, seperti yang kegiatan kemarin, seperti kegiatan pemuda atau pertukaran pelajar antar negara gitu. Karena dengan cara itu orang-orang yang ada di dunia ini bisa menjadi partnership kita, bisa menjadi kita bisa elaborate, bisa berkolaborasi. Kalau kita datangnya, artinya speaker yang kedua tadi Imam Muhammad Basar Arafat menjelaskan bahwa kita coba lebih kreatif dalam berkolaborasi antar negara. Karena beliau sendiri tadi disampaikan, saya tuh sering diundang-undang, tapi mana imam yang lain dari Syria, dari Amerika, tadi disebutkan negara, saya lupa juga negaranya apa aja. Tadi disebutkan hanya beliau lah yang ada. Jadi beliau hadir di sini bagaimana memberikan pengetahuan kepada kita selaku pemimpin atau selaku menjelaskan dakwah dengan berbagai metode yang tidak kuno gitu mungkin ya bahasanya gitu. Kemudian mungkin itu tadi saya agak lupa. Okay. Session.
Satu poin tadi yang terakhir yang penting dulu garis bawahi ya, bahwa religious diplomasi itu bukan hanya untuk agama saja seperti yang saya sampaikan ya, tapi religious diplomasi itu juga bisa digunakan untuk kepentingan politik, kepentingan ekonomi, bisnis dan sebagainya ya. Jadi yang dimaksudkan religious diplomasi di sini untuk bukan hanya bahasa imam agama ya, tapi untuk dunia akhirat istilahnya. Jadi saya kira Anda semua para mahasiswa-mahasiswi di sini, ini kesempatan paling baik untuk memperluas pengalamannya, wawasannya. Jadi kalau ada waktu tolong diberi kesempatan ya adik-adik kita ini nanti untuk bertanya. Jangan ragu bertanya ya, bahasa Arab, bahasa Inggris bisa jawab kok itu. Di sini nggak ada orang lain, semua teman-teman kolega kita di sini. Timba pengalaman, insya Allah ini akan menjadi kebiasaan buat kita. Setiap ada tamu, setiap ada siapapun, kalian nanti akan diperkenalkan dengan mereka supaya wawasan internasionalnya itu kuat. Oke, silahkan.
Okay, move on to the next session is about question and answer segment. So, bagi Bapak dan Ibu yang ingin mengajukan pertanyaan, kami persilakan. Okay, yeah, Miss Rosa, please come forward.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm very happy to meet you in person, Bapak Mr. Imam Muhammad Basar Arafat. What I want to ask is, as you said before that America has their own diplomacy, right? And the diplomacy actually has influenced us here in Indonesia. Moreover, the diplomacy is about the entertainment world. The entertainment world that attract the young people, the young generation, and also nowadays many young Muslim men are far and not really interested to become an imam. But they have this kind of competency in the religious diplomacy. But the thing that I want to ask is how to influence the youth generation to care about this kind of topic. If they want to learn about this outside the event, a day event like this, is there any NGO or is there any an education word that can provide them to learn about this one. They have this kind of religious diplomacy, but they don't want to be an imam. So, how to influence them of that topic? Thank you.
Wow, mashallah.
Thank you,
Very
Ms.
nice,
Ocha, for the question.
May I answer? Very nice question, sister. What's your name?
Miss Ocha, Rosa,
Rosa.
from
Sister
junior
Rosa.
high school,
So, Sister Rosa,
teacher of junior high school.
are you part of the program that will bring master students and PhD students to America?
She's teacher of junior high school.
I just want you to know we have a program that is to train the imams how to work with youth from around the world who do not want to be clergy, and how to teach them to do different projects in their own societies by having first clear understanding about who they are and about cultural diversity. We call this program Better Understanding for a Better World. And it is held in the United States regularly every year. And if you will go to our website, you will see it on our website, and you will see the 5-minute video. And we are doing the same conference, but only small, for only 3 hours, this Monday at Sharif Hidayatullah University, in case you would like to come in person and speak to our alumni, because I invited like 7 alumni from around the world to join on Zoom, but in person is going to be the students who are in Indonesia, and it's going to be in partnership with your center, Dr. Rosita. What's the name of the center? If you just tell them that. They know it? Okay, it's at you in Sharif Hidayatullah. If you would like to attend, you are more than welcome. It's going to be from 1 to 4 this Monday. We'll address exactly what you are asking for. But we do have it, yes.
Ada lagi yang bertanya Bapak Ibu?
He has the brother with the nice kufi. You thought it's you because you are the one. Sorry, can you see him? Come close.
Okay, Mister, thank you. Sorry. Yeah. Thank you for sharing me. Listen, a very amazing and touching explanation, Mister. Today, I wanna ask. Imam is association of leader in Islamic religion. Among Sunni, the first Imam is synonymous with the sentence. It can also mean the leader of congregation, friars, and the sentence Imam can also be used for the title of famous Islamic religion scientist. In Surah Al-Baqarah verse 124 to 128 talks about the ancestor of the children of Israel, namely the prophet Abraham, the prophet who belongs to Ulil Azmi, received many orders and prohibition. This direct interaction from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was successfully completed by the father of the prophet. As how method Imams like Abraham or Ibrahim, Mister? Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
I could not understand properly because of the echo here. Can you rephrase the question, please? It was not. Can he say it in Bahasa and you can say it in English? He also quoted verses from Al-Baqarah. Can he say those verses from Al-Baqarah? Can you say them in Arabic? The verses in Al-Baqarah.
Baca ayatnya, Sir.
So I know exactly what you are talking about.
Ayatnya dulu. MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Thank you very much. So you said,
how can we be linnasi imama? That's the question? That's the question? Thank you very much. That was my topic upstairs when I spoke after Jumu'ah today. So that's the whole purpose of this, really, about religious diplomacy and how to be linnasi imama. Today, if you want to be linnasi imama, you have to understand that some people do not want to hear the word religion. Please, the sisters in the back, can you hear me? Okay. Since I like to see, hello, can you, hello? I said some people do not want to hear the word religion. In order to be imam, linnas, you have to take the message of your religion and put it in a global language. You have to put it in a global language. We really need to train the imams how to put these verses into global language. And instead of saying something about, for example, when Allah forbid alcohol, right? And said, إِنَّمَا الْخَمْرُ وَالْمَيْسِرُ وَالْأَنصَابُ وَالْأَزْلَامُ رِجْسٌ مِّنْ عَمَلِ الشَّيْطَانِ فَاجْتَنِبُوهُ. You go and you give a talk about the importance of protecting the societies from the vices of alcohol abuse and gambling, without making a reference to Quran. You just speak about the problems that's happening in the society of destroying the families by bringing statistics, okay? Because there are different institutions who are making statistics. By making this kind of statistics about families, about the problems of alcohol and the crimes that is committed, that accidents that are taking place around the world, without referring to Quran, قال Allah and قال Rasulullah. And then you say, I'm just giving you an example, then you say that this issue is impacting all of us, Muslims, Christians, Jews, whatever. Because when somebody is drunk and driving his car or driving her car, she is a danger for anybody. She might hit anybody, he might hit anybody, he might make an accident. You see what I'm saying? This is just an example. You talk about global peace. You talk about development. You talk about the sustainable goals of the United Nations. Have you heard of the sustainable goals of the United Nations? Okay, please, 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 go and make research. On Google, just put what are the sustainable goals of the United Nations? It's all about the environment, it's about families, it's about education, it's about orphans, it's everything they talk about is mentioned in the Quran. But they put it in a global language without making a reference to قال Allah and قال Rasulullah. So this is how you become linnasi imama. That's why the last thing I would like to say, in our curriculum, which I gave to the Imam yesterday, and Dr. Rosita printed it today, very important for them to go to the United Nations. We take them in New York, inside the United Nations, to understand what is this United Nations. Because in our Sharia curriculums today, nobody talked to you about going to the United Nations. But through the United Nations and through this religious diplomacy, we can reach out to Africa, Asia, Central Asia, Middle East, everywhere, through these international NGOs. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for your speech at this afternoon. And we come to the last agenda, everyone. So let's close our agenda by reciting Hamdalah together. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin.
We like photos. also, and especially the Imam's phone. Thank you. Yes. And then we'd love to take a photo with you. Or selfies. Thank you.
Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
Imam, you go with Red Imam to his room. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Can we take a group picture?
Okay. Thank you. Jangan lupa mas. Come on. Ayo. Foto. Yes, it's on Zoom. Yes, you too.
Thank you for your question. I like your cooking.
Yeah.
From Makassar? Or with another one?
Oh yeah. Okay.
Got it.
Satu dua.
Thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much. Now with the sister. Inshallah, we'll wait for you in America. You stay as mahram. He will be with me. He will be with me like mahram. Assalamu alaikum. Where is the sister who asked the question?